Well, today we have a special treat for you. Steve Owens, our studio grounds manager, has been hard at work on a new addition here at the studio gardens. And one of the parts of that addition is this wonderful flagstone walk. And Steve, this looks like you just came out and laid some rocks down, but actually it's a lot more complicated than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, Brenda. It does look like they're just laying on the surface here, but actually quite a bit of work went into this. First, we laid out our pathway, then we sprayed the Bermuda with Roundup to make sure it was completely killed out. Then we excavated down about 8 inches, and we came in with about 3 or 4 inches of crushed limestone and poured that over the bottom of the excavated area. Then we came in and we rolled that with a heavy roller to make sure it was firmed down real good. Then we came in and added about 2 inches of fine sand on top of that and rolled that as well.
Okay, so that kind of gives you a good base to work on then.
Yeah, the sand helps because it gives you a little bit of room to maneuver the rocks a little to get the different thicknesses where the top will be level for walking.
Okay, well, as you look at this, it looks a lot like a large jigsaw puzzle. And of course, when you get the rock, they're not all the size that you need. What do you do? How do you get the rocks the size that you want them?
I learned this masonry technique where you can get the rocks to break where you want them to break most of the time. And what you do, you just picture a line across there, say we wanted to break it right there, and you just tap on it across that line.
And you actually do this fairly gently.
Yeah, I start out tapping gently, and then if the rock doesn't break immediately, or after a little while, I come back and I start hitting it a little harder. And the longer you take, the more often it's going to break right along the line. Because if you get real impatient with it and you just start wailing on it, it's liable to crack where you don't want it to. So it kind of takes a little patience, but if you keep the constant pressure up, it'll about 90% of the time break right where you're hammering it. It just takes a little while to crack all the way through the rock.
So this takes just a little bit of patience here.
Yeah. But that ensures that you get, there you go, you get a correct break. See, right down where we were tapping on it.
Just exactly where you wanted it. Well, these fit together very nicely, and you've got some gaps here. What did you use to fill in between the rocks with?
We went with a small pea gravel, and the way we did that, after we had these all fit together the way we wanted them, we just came back and poured the gravel in the cracks, and just come by with a brush or a whisk broom, and just swoop that into the cracks.
Okay. Well, it fills in very nicely. It looks good. And it also makes it more stable when you get the rock in there.
That's right. It gives it a lot stronger footing.
Okay. Well, Steve, this looks very beautiful, and you've got just a little bit left here. Now, we would like to take some time and say thank you to Hackett Stone because they donated the stone for this pathway. But actually, this is the small project compared to Steve's large rock garden project that he's been working very diligently on this spring. And actually, I'm going to turn it over to you, Steve, and you can show everybody how to build a rock garden.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Well, the first thing we did was select an appropriate site, and we chose this site on this east-facing slope on the back of our studio garden. Well, to give you a little background about rock gardens, in 18th century England, the Romantic movement had brought about a change in garden style. The landscape garden or the naturalistic garden style had begun to replace the formal garden style. And what this is a direct observation of nature. The English would see a scene out in the landscape and they would try to duplicate that in their own garden, whether it be a trickling brook or a small pond or even a little waterfall or a small forest. And the more adventurous gardeners even tried to duplicate what they had seen up on the mountaintops while traveling through the Alps. And so that's how we got the rock garden. Our rock gardens today are descendants of these small mountaintop gardens that the English tried to duplicate in their gardens. Well, because rock garden plants require a rapidly and well-draining soil, we had to consider our soil type. And on the slope here, the first thing we did was spray the Bermuda after we outlined our garden to kill all the Bermuda grass. And we came in and we excavated all the soil down to about 8 or 9 inches, and we piled that to the side. We then came in with about a 3 or 4 inch layer of crushed gravel and spread that over the bottom of the entire excavated area. And we brought in about 14 tons of pea gravel. This is a small pea gravel or a large sand or grit, and stockpile that as well. And then we brought in a large amount of composted horse manure. And we made our rock garden mix by mixing equal amounts of these 3 ingredients. And we would just fill up wheelbarrows or the bucket of our front end loader and dump that back onto the gravel in our garden area. The next step was to collect all the rock. And what you want to do is collect all of your rock from the same location. And we were fortunate enough to go to some property that the university owns and collect all of our rock from the same place. And this is good because you get a consistency throughout the garden. The rocks are usually the same color, the texture the same, the mosses and lichens are about the same, and the age or the weathering is also the same. And it's a good idea to study the rock outcrops around the state just to see how the rocks are arranged. And if you notice, the rocks are all arranged in strata or layers. And if you look, what we've done in our garden is arrange our rock in strata or layers. You can see like the shelving. And when you're setting the rock in to maintain or to achieve this look, you make sure all the strata lines in the rock are all running in the same direction. You can see that we've laid our strata with kind of a lift towards the south end here. And you can see we've got all the strata lines running the same direction. Another thing you want to do when you're setting your rocks in is to be sure and bury them by at least a third. This will make sure that they look natural, like they were in place, and it gives them a look of permanence. As you study the rock formations and outcrops around Oklahoma, you'll notice that not all of them have strata lines running in the same direction. And we've tried to imitate that here in that we've made some of our rocks look like they were part of a layer of strata further uphill that have broken free and tumbled down the mountain as talus and come to rest in place, not in a layer of strata. Another thing to remember when you're constructing your rock garden is to set a large number of the rocks where the top of the rock is sloping backwards into the hill. And this is helpful because the water will run backwards off the rock into the garden rather than spilling over the top and washing away your soil. Now when you're out moving your rocks, we used a tractor with a fork attachment on the front to lift our large rocks. But be very careful when you're moving these. Be sure and bend your knees, and if you need help, please get a friend to help you. Once you have all your rocks in place where you want them, then it's time to plant. And for me, this was the funnest part of the construction process. Your plant material, you don't want it to be over 12 inches tall because you don't want to hide all the rocks that you've worked so hard to get in place. And in our rock garden, we were fortunate enough to have a large enough rock garden to have a pathway through it. And not only is it a place where we can walk through our garden, but we can also plant little plants in the little pockets and nooks and crannies of the pathway, like these. And when you're planting the rock garden, the first type of plants you want to plant are your dwarf conifers, and go through and spread those out in the garden and plant those. And once those are in, come back with the dwarf deciduous shrubs and plant those in amongst the rocks. And then you're ready to plant the perennials, the succulents, and little grasses and other dwarf plants like that. Well, this will take about 2 or 3 years to fill in and start looking the way we had planned for it to look. We have a few empty spaces left, and we'll plant those as we get plants in. Well, I've really had a lot of fun putting this together, and I know you will too if you decide to create your own little mountaintop garden.
We hope you enjoyed this video. It's part of our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. You can also find more recent videos on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.